Hello and welcome to Just Onside. It's been ages! OS, good to see you. And what the hell's going on? Where are you?
Yeah, normally it's you letting me down, but this time I think I've let you down significantly, haven't I? It's been a crazy few weeks, probably the last month or so. I was on my Jack Jones as well. As you know, the family was in the UK, but a lot of running around, new job, a lot of trips to Abu Dhabi. I had to kind of organize a new apartment over there, lots of kind of adjustments and all the rest of it. But anyway, better late than never, Ayub. I've been well, thank you so much. In a good space, family's all together now. Got my son with me as well, so that's lovely. But yeah, doing good. Moving to Abu Dhabi in a few weeks as well. So yeah, onto a different home, different place to live. But onwards and upwards, as they say. How about yourself?
Not too bad at all. So where are you at the moment? I thought this was your new flat.
No, behave. You can't have forgotten already. This is the background I normally have for the podcast, but no, still in Dubai for another 2 more weeks, and then for Abu Dhabi, probably get a hotel for about a week, and then I've got the new apartment which I've managed to gratefully arrange. So move there around September 10th. So yeah, looking forward to it. Lots to do. It's literally an empty apartment, so lots to buy as well, which the missus is happy about. But yeah, all is good. Are you doing okay? But yeah, happy to speak to you, buddy.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, all's well my end. Busy as well at work, but absolutely delighted, in great spirits at the moment, and you know why.
Yeah, you've got your Leeds yellow one. I can see, and let me lead us in. I mean, I'll be very honest with you, but I've not seen the game. Certain decisions have to be made. I mean, it's 11 p.m. on a Monday night over here, so I thought Leeds Everton. I mean, that was hardly one for the neutrals. But listen, let me lead you in. You're back in the big time, back in the Premier League, something that you were desperate to do, get out of the Championship. I know what the Championship means to you in terms of the struggle, the 46 games, the highs, the lows, the peaks, the troughs, all the issues that you have with the manager, all the rest of it. And it's all worth it, isn't it, when you get back into the big time, the first big game, under the lights, all the cameras, the first big televised game, Monday Night Football, Carragher, Neville, all the big stars coming out for what was obviously Leeds' opening game. And by all intents and purposes, from what I read, you'll have to give me the full analysis, but they played quite well. Apparently, really fluid team to watch. Give me the breakdown. Was it a deserved 3 points? And what's your general emotion and feeling after the game? 3 points.
You're right about the setup. It is. It's just perfect. I mean, it was looking forward to the game as the day wore on. The excitement levels were completely different to what it's like in the Championship. In the Championship, there is an expectation that you're going to win, and it's the Championship. Albeit this is Everton, so this is not your Arsenal, your Liverpool, but still, Everton is an established Premier League club. And I did say to a number of people that it's probably the best fixture that we could have had, because Everton, it's a team that I thought that we had a chance. Ellen Road on a Monday evening, the lights, you've talked about it. I mean, there is a special atmosphere at Ellen Road, especially on a night game. So I thought that everything was in our favour to get a result, and we started superbly. Bearing in mind, there's 8 players who are playing in the Championship. So, I mean, I've been very critical of the recruitment because I think it's been quite lackadaisical. We've shown a lot of interest in players. We've gone for some players, but it's always been clear that those players want bigger and better than Leeds United, and it turned out to be the case. They've gone to other teams. So we were in a position where we only had sort of 3 debutants, but 8 players who were playing in the Championship. So it was going to be a tough ask. But and it's not often that I praise Fark.
Not often at all.
Yeah. But I've got to give it to him. I mean, credit where it's due. I mean, I obviously I'm his sternest critic, but credit where it is due, because he set the team up magnificently. The attitude was absolutely bang on. I mean, in a sense, it took care of itself at Ellen Road. But everybody was up for it. We defended superbly. But really, at the start, we were on the front foot. I mean, we had 5 corners, I think, in the first 10, 12 minutes. The final third, I mean, we were lacking. It was clear that we were lacking in absolute quality. But we The first half, we were absolutely dominant. We really should have been a goal up at least. We had some sort of half chances, some opportunities, perhaps the final ball, but we were certainly in the ascendancy. And I just thought, again, it was going to be where lots of huff and puff, but we're going to get done by a little bit more experienced Premier League nous. And in the second half, it transpired to be the case because Everton, they I won't sort of say they bullied us and they dominated, but they certainly had more of the possession. But again, what I was impressed with was our resolve. The defense was immaculate. The midfield, again, put in a shift and a half. We've got this guy called Anton Stack, 6'4", middle of the park, a real presence. But Ampadu was brilliant.
Mm.
He was the man of the match, pulling the strings. Tanaka in midfield as well, very tenacious, sort of harrying, hustling. So that our front line struggled a little bit, but they put in a shift. So it was a tremendous. I won't sort of say a rear guard, but we defended well, and when we had opportunities, we brought well, and we. A lot of people said it's a slightly fortunate penalty that we got. I don't know whether you've seen that at all.
I was going to catch your thoughts on it. I've seen the Furore. I mean, my son actually watched the game. So he texted me. I was just checking it out in the morning, and I've only seen a couple of kind of live images. I'm not going to pass judgment. I'm kind of keen to hear your thoughts. I know there was a lot of debate. I believe Neville and Carragher both thought it was a penalty. However, I think Chris Sutton on BBC live text thought it wasn't. Again, mixed opinions, which is, I guess, what the game is about. What about from your perspective, Ayub? I don't count you as a biased supporter. I know you'll call it as you see it. How did you see the incident?
I mean, it's the ruling. I think. I mean, as a fan, I probably would have been if I was a supporter of Everton. I would have been disappointed. But if the rules are explained to me, I think the ruling was that whilst he had his arms by his side, it was the lean. He sort of leant into the ball. So in a sense, he's used an advantage from his arm, albeit it's still by his side, but he's
Mm,
lent.
mm.
And if that is the ruling, then it's a penalty. So I'm basing it on that. And I think it seemed harsh at the time because it took a little bit of time because the referee, I think his view was obstructed.
Mm,
He's
mm.
conferred with his linesman. It took about 6-7 seconds before he's pointed to the spot. But when they've explained the ruling, I'm happy enough with that. Even if I was an Everton supporter, if that's the ruling, you've got to accept it. You've got to put your hand up and say, well, look, it's a penalty based on the rules.
Yeah, fair judgment. I mean, look, I don't really have a strong opinion either way. I probably need to see a few more times. What's interesting is that Howard Webb did speak about, I think, heading into the season, that they've tried to work on the handball rule. This point about making yourself naturally bigger, and they were leaning more towards giving less handballs where you felt it was just unnecessarily unfair, so to speak. So not getting too involved because there were a lot of situations where players were naturally falling into positions which brought their arms into the air, hands into the air. And we know those situations, what those are. I remember the McAllister incident in the Community Shield. I don't know if you remember against Palace. There was a cross coming over. It's a different incident. I mean, this was a shot fired at Tarkowski, who was the last line of defence near the 6-yard box, roughly. But his arm, kind of McAllister's arm, fell a little bit into this unnatural position because the ball flew over him, and he lost a little bit of balance. I was okay with it not being a penalty, even though the ball hit him in his hand quite high up, to be fair. Yeah, I probably need to see it a few more times. It's one that does, this one genuinely does divide opinion, doesn't it, you? Because he's tried to probably chest it or shoulder it or somewhat to try and lean into it. I don't think his intention was to handball it. Of course it wasn't. But he's trying to get into the way of the ball, which is Tarkowski's MO, isn't it, as a defender. So maybe if he shuffled his feet a bit more, he would have probably got it flush in the chest or what have you. Just on the larger picture, you very quickly. Great to win in front of your fans because it creates some sort of momentum at home. You've obviously got a tough game away at Arsenal next. But in terms of Sunderland, obviously got a huge win for them
Mm.
at home to West Ham. We know that 26 points last year would have kept you up, with Leicester getting relegated with 25. Do you see this now, early doors, but a bit of an opportunity to say, look, let's really get a big head start, because wins in this league, you can easily go, let's say, 10 games on the bounce,
Mm.
losing games left and right, probably getting thrashed, confidence in the gutter. So now that you won your first game, how important is it from your perspective to, at least from a home? I mean, Arsenal, you probably see it as a free hit somewhat now that you got 3 points. But how do you see the home form, especially that you can get enough points at home to get you close to that kind of mid 20s, late 20s, early 30 points total, which might well be enough this year?
Yeah, I mean it's massive, absolutely massive. I mean, I think it's going to be a much tougher season because I think there's a few teams that are probably going to be bunched around the bottom as well. I think there are some, I don't want to sort of say weaker sides, but there are sides that have been impacted by various changes. Brentford, I think, the changes that have happened have been seismic, and I think Keith Andrew, a lot of people were questioning his appointment. And I think the first result almost sort of attests to that, that maybe he's not the right man, which sort of pulls Brentford into perhaps a potential relegation mix, which is good for us because normally it's the teams that come up
Yeah,
are automatically presumed to be the teams that are going to go down. Now, Sunderland have spent really well. They bought some really good players. I mean, with Xhaka, I think absolutely crucial because it's all well and good having flair players, but I think you need a little bit of steel and guile and experience. And Xhaka, you know Xhaka, uh, sort of very well from his Arsenal days, and he's somebody that you know exactly what you get with Xhaka. So Arsenal, I think, are well positioned. I think there's teams like West Ham as well who I don't know. They're in a state of flux at this moment in time. It's a club which is not really sort of going anywhere. So I'm just sort of thinking that right, rather than just sort of saying right, we're going to be competing with the teams that have come up. There's other teams that we can pull into the mix. The only way you can do that is to try and get points on the board. Now, wins if you're at the bottom is like gold dust. Because it's and you sort of said that perhaps you need to sort of set yourself a target about 33, 34 points. 3 points first game. That's wonderful to try and sort of, I suppose, accomplish that goal. You're right. Arsenal, I'm not expecting anything from the Arsenal. Newcastle, but I don't want to have that mentality. I think I like the way that Fark approached the game because it wasn't just a case of right, we're going to sit on the back foot, park the bus, and then
yeah,
maybe try and sort of sneak a goal here and there. We attacked when we had to attack. We defended when we had to defend. Now against the Arsenal, we will attack when the opportunity, but it's going to be few and far between. But that is the only way that we can go. Now we can go into that game with an element of freedom. We've got 3 points on the board. Most people expect us to lose. The players, I think, will be tremendously buoyed by a really, really good performance, good result. Every player put in a shift. Every player, I think, could be proud of themselves, and even the substitutes that came on. So I think there's going to be a great deal of confidence. As I said, I've never been keen on this free hit. If you're in the same league, it's never a free hit because you've got to try and at least go with an attitude that you want to try and get something out of the game. Sort of history sort of tells you and form tells you that it's highly unlikely we'll get anything. But I hope that the attitude is right.
yeah, yeah,
And I hope we, as I said, not gung ho because you're going to get picked off by the quality of the Arsenal. But what I hope is that we defend well, but when we have the opportunity, go on the front foot, test them, challenge them, because we've got sort of the odd player. I mean, we've bought potentially, there's a player that we bought from AC Milan as well. So he's got a little bit of magic, a little bit of flair if we can keep
yeah.
him fit. I'm just delighted. I'm delighted. It's going to be a tough season, but 3 points on the board, absolutely superb. And it should give Fark and the players the confidence that there's certainly points there. Now, maybe
Yeah.
perhaps you've got to just target teams like West Ham, teams like Wolves, obviously the teams that got promoted with us. So maybe those are the games that we almost need to be at our best against the likes of Arsenal. Express yourself. I mean, as I said, you don't want to get absolutely battered, but you want to sort of make sure that they're in a game. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping for that on Saturday. And it was actually the first time that I think I watched the game in its entirety because normally in the
Nice.
Championship I don't. But I think because we're in the Premier League, the expectation is that we're going to not perhaps win more games than not. So the Championship, when I know that we should be winning, that's more pressure. It's a strange one, but
Yeah.
with the Premier League, perhaps it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, very well put, Ayub. I mean, you started your kind of response by uh, uh, letting us know that you're right. The setting was perfect, wasn't it? Under the lights, using some of that kind of Ellen Road faithful. It reminds me actually that some of us who are unfortunate enough to have your contact details would, see that on your WhatsApp profile picture. I think you've got that very
It is, yeah.
that you've got that very shirt on, and I think you are Ellen Road.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think for
yeah.
a tour. I think it was a tour. It was empty outside. I don't know. Maybe there was.
No, no, no.
It could have been a home game. Could have been a home game as well. To be fair.
No, no, it is the home game. It's the game that we played against Bristol City, but we were there bright and early. It
You were
was me
there.
and Chaps. Yeah, bright and
you,
early. So
you were there bright and early. But no, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's a fantastic start, isn't it? And it'll give them a lot of confidence. And you're right, probably clumsy wording from myself, free hit, but it just gives them a great deal of confidence to say, look, we've got 3 points on the board. If you'd said 3 points from the first two games, you'd probably take that. So now, if they can get anything at the Emirates, that would be pretty amazing. You spoke about some of the other teams. You're right, Ayub. I think I've got Brentford going down. That was before the season. They've got really bad vibes. They've lost the two. They're going to lose, I think, their top two goal scorers, and obviously Mbeumo going to United. Wissa looks like he's on his way or wants to get out.
mm,
You lose your manager, who's not just any manager. He
yeah.
is, revered and well thought of. You don't want to lose that, and you lose your captain. People forget Norgard to Arsenal, so there's a lot of losses there. Not as many reinforcements, and then Keith Andrews, he's not cut it at the highest level, so that feels like maybe
Mm.
again maybe early doors, but it just feels like there's so many things off right now. I think Charlotte didn't start the game after double check, but yeah, I mean they got beaten handily, didn't they, by a team that doesn't really score many. Forest are tight, are good, but they haven't scored many in preseason and what have you. Switching gears a little bit, Ayub, happy for you first and foremost. Big win. I was pleased to hear when I woke up this morning. But just switching gears in terms of the I was going to say top end of the table, but you are near the top end of the table for the time being.
I think the seventh.
You're seventh, fair enough. Europa League, that'll do you. But in terms of some of the perennial challenges that what do you think of the opening weekend? Obviously, Liverpool kicked the season off, didn't they? Under very emotional circumstances at
Mm.
Anfield, with great tributes placed for Diogo Jota and his brother, all across all the 10 Premier League games
Mm.
across the weekend. But Liverpool kicked off, obviously got a win. Man City got a very handy win at Wolves. Looked imperious, some good debutants making a good showing there. Arsenal obviously got a away win at United, and Chelsea, again, I'm going to cover those four for the time being. Bit lackluster at home to
Mm.
Palace, pretty much a non-event other than the disallowed goal for Eze. How do you see the landscape? Very early doors, but anything that caught your eye early doors? I imagine you watched some of these games.
I did, yeah. I mean, I was talking with my lad about Man City, and they look in the mood. I think Pep's chomping at the bit. I think last season almost perhaps has fired him up because it was a shocker of a season for Man City in terms of, I suppose, the normal high standards they've set. They look in the mood. They look in the mood. And it's business as usual. You just knew that Haaland was going to be on the score sheet. There was something. It was almost sort of your archetypal City. There was an arrogance. So I think City are going to be more than in the mix. And I mean, I'm actually putting them as my favourites at the start of the season. Liverpool, uh, defensive wars. I mean, they won the game in the end. I mean, I presume they'll turn around and say it was a reasonable, comfortable game in the end, 4-2. But it wasn't. I mean, it was a game that they should have won because I think they had the ascendancy. But it's you in the Premier League. There's lots of good teams, and they got away with it this sort of weekend. Perhaps they may not get away with it on
Yeah,
another weekend. They've got some good players. They really have got some good players. But I think defensively, I mean, Kanate was awful. I don't know whether his head's in it now because I think his head's been turned. He looked awful. He looked disinterested, and that's not Kanate. Kanate is a top quality player. So, and unless they sort of shore up the defense, they're gonna finish in the top four. There's no question. Liverpool are going to be there or thereabouts, but I think they need to sort out the defense. Your boys, I mean, I enjoyed the game. I mean, it wasn't a classic. It wasn't sort of games of the past where it's blood and guts and thunder, but it was a good game. It's almost it's a sort of game that I quite enjoy. It's Arsenal again defensively. I mean, it's thou shall not pass. But what impressed me, and this is where it's a funny thing to say when a team's been beaten at home, but I was impressed by Man United. I think on another day they would have got at least a point. Maybe on another day they would have won the game. the front line in terms of Cunha and Buemo, considering this is, I mean, this is very early days into their partnership, they were good. They were good. Cunha was on beast mode. So um, if I was a United fan, I'd be optimistic. Again, they've got sort of frailties which need to be addressed because the goalkeeping situation. I mean, that was awful. That was awful. Absolutely awful. I mean, it's just, I mean, we were criticizing Onana. I mean, this guy is, I have no idea. I've never heard of him. I don't know who he is. But I've seen keepers on the park on a Sunday better than that keeper. Really, really sort of weak limp, sort of wrist. Uh, but I think there's enough good signs there
Yeah,
for
yeah.
United, but they've just got maybe some fine tuning in certain areas. Even Casemiro, I've got to be honest. I mean, sometimes you look at certain individuals within the team, and it sort of bodes well. I mean, he's lost a ton of weight. He looks sharp. He looks lean, and for the first 20, 25 minutes. He was on it. He was on it. He was getting the tackles in, distribution, and that almost sort of, I think, is a reflection of where Man United are now.
Yeah.
Because last season, I mean, he was a bit of a porker. He was carrying a bit of weight. He looked about 50,
Takes
but
one to
I've got
know
to
one.
be, but I've got to sort of say that Casemiro, it's exactly what I think Amarim wants to probably sort of see. The attitude. I think a lot of people have criticised the attitude of Man United. And I think what I saw was a really good attitude, some good play as well. The Arsenal are the Arsenal. I mean, I think they're going to be hard to beat. I saw a stat that I think of the last 22 games they've played against the top six, they've not been beaten at all. I think they've had about 12, 13 wins and about 8, 9 draws. So Arsenal are going to be there or thereabouts. But at the moment, I've got to be honest. If you sort of say, right, who's your money on? It's going to be Man City. I'm going to go. I mean, maybe perhaps we'll have another show where we can go through exactly what we think. But Man City at the moment are catching the eye. But it was a good weekend. I think it was nice just to sort of see where teams are at. I mean, what's your thoughts? I mean, what stood out for you?
You cover the game at Old Trafford. I'll go there first. I do have some thoughts. I think you're absolutely right on Manchester United. I think they had probably one of their best games under Ruben Amorim. I don't think they were necessarily peppering Arsenal, but they were very much the better team, I thought, very much in the ascendancy for the most part, asking lots of questions. And if it wasn't for perhaps a little bit of, I'm not saying lack of chemistry, but maybe just a little bit of lack of belief, I guess, and a little bit of cohesion, they probably would have found a way to get through that Arsenal because Arsenal were poor. There's no two ways about it. I mean, you can argue it was the first game of the season, but I was saying to my son that Arsenal were genuinely playing like as though they just won an opportunity to kind of play a third round FA Cup game at Old Trafford, take the money, go home, and it's one of those because I genuinely thought there was a significant gap in terms of the intensity of how United were playing in terms of getting up the pitch with certain patterns. And Arsenal felt like they were just constantly fighting the ball, no real intensity to create opportunities, to create attacks. And I just felt as though that is a huge issue. I mean, we know what their main issues have been, which is that they are, in my opinion, far too cautious, far too risk averse. And I think that gets you to so far. They will most likely be the best defense in the league. I think you might even concur with that. But
Mm.
in this league where you know you're going to have to open up teams, I mean, their statistic about having only scored 0 or 1 goals in the last 30, 35 games is quite significant because it only takes one mistake, it only takes one deflection, it takes one piece of brilliance from the opposition, and you're not going to win. Where Liverpool go the other way, which is, listen, we look a little shaky at the back, but we're gonna probably look to score threes and fours. I think Liverpool may well break the 100 goal barrier this season in terms of the firepower that they have and may well still secure in the rest of the summer window. Arsenal, I think they've got a long way to go. You can put some of it down to early season fitness, and yes, when you're kind of chasing that in the first 2 or 3 games, you just want to get some wins. I agree, I accept that, and I do think performance, of course, are going to improve for all teams. That is, but I was quite perturbed at their lack of intensity in terms of being able to create any type of meaningful opportunities. So that would be a huge worry if you're an Arsenal fan. Liverpool, I think, is what you'd expect from Liverpool. They've obviously gone through a major transformation in the summer. They may well go through some more. Of course, they lost a player in tragic circumstances, which you can't account for. But they've done a lot of turnover of players. Some of the interviews with Slot have been quite telling. How he spoke about how in the second half of the season he felt as though they needed to readjust something, or they needed to kind of amend their ways, and just adopt a slightly different way of playing. So he's quite cold and calculated when he has to be. It was a great game. Obviously, one an unfortunate incident with the fan, but it was a really good game to watch. Semenya looks a real top player. Slot spoke
Mm,
about him afterwards as
yeah.
well. You could see maybe he might be on the move in January. You could imagine one of the big boys
Mm,
perhaps picking him off. But really good game. I always felt Liverpool would get something at the end to get a goal, and so they did. Even when some of their players were below par, even Salah had a relatively quiet game. Always finds a way to put his
mm,
imprint on the game. Words tidy. I think his time will come. I think he's a top player. But a lot of players had what I would call so-so games, yet they still scored 4 goals, and
mm,
that tells you a little bit about the way they play, the risks that they're willing to take. You saw that a little bit, perhaps in the wrong way, when they were 2-1 up and kind of got 4-on-2 for the 2-2 equaliser, which is perhaps what they don't want, defensively speaking. So, yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting season. City looked good. City looked in the mood. They look like, you mentioned it, you a little bit of arrogance coming back. Reinders looks a real find. He looks like somebody who's willing to burst into the box, get on the end of things, but he's got a bit of class about him, hasn't he, Ayub, where he
mm.
can finish, he can pass. He looks like the real a good kind of dovetail for what Haaland wants as well. I mean, the way he picked him out for that second goal was just beautiful. So, yeah, I think it promises to be a good season. I like the fact that we've got a contrast of styles. Liverpool are very much on the front foot, trying to get goals, look a little open, but looking to get goals. They've got match winners everywhere. City, you can see if they can keep their best players fit. Rodri can come back, Stones, Diaz, you've then got Reinders. Haaland's still going to get you 20,
Mm.
25 goals easy. Light work for someone of his ilk. So that's that. And Arsenal, you expect them to be fairly solid. They've got a pretty good squad. Ayub, the question is, can they start to take some risks and start to really look to create plenty of full opportunities? It'll be very interesting to see how they get against Leeds, where I do think Leeds will sit in a little bit, because that's how I would play against Arsenal as well, and play on the counter. So yeah, I guess the one small question, I mean, I'll put the floor to you very quickly. Your son, obviously a big Chelsea fan. A lot of hopes on Chelsea this year to take a big jump. Had a good summer with the Club World Cup. Some reinforcements on their way as well. Obviously, got a new striker in João Pedro. They got Delap off the bench. Who knows? Delap may well start the next game. Let's see. What were your thoughts on them, Ayub? Obviously, slightly pedestrian start. They would have loved to have won that game. Do you see them as challengers? Do you see them as equals to perhaps the other three, or do you see them maybe a step below?
They look like a team that's been playing intense football over the summer, and they have. And therein lies the problem. It was. I mean, we sort of briefly, I think, commented on that tournament. It was almost like a non-event, but obviously for the club, it
Yeah.
was a very lucrative event. But it's strange because pre-season is to try and get your sharpness up to the point where obviously when the first second game of the season comes, you've sort of you've worked up. This is a strange one because obviously they had to maintain a level of fitness, and then I mean I'm not sure how much downtime they have, but that must have affected the normal way that you prepare for a season, and it looked like it. It looked flat. Uh, so I don't know because it's not like switching a light on and off. I think it takes a little bit of time. So I don't know how long it will take for them to just perk up a little bit because we saw them. I mean, I saw them, and they were damn impressive. I mean, I've got to be honest in watching some of the performances. I mean, I think was it PSG that they
Yeah,
beat
in the
very
final,
very
yes.
comfortably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we're talking about PSG, which is one of the best club sides in the world at this moment in time. They absolutely bossed the game. But I just sort of think that the way that football is now, that you've got to get the balance right. You've got to rest. You've got to make sure that the players are playing at the optimum level. I just sort of think that that tournament they played in the summer, albeit it's sort of cash in the pocket, but I think it will have an impact, and I think it will have quite a serious impact because this should have been under normal circumstances a walk in the park. They should have won the game. Uh,
You
and
forget, you forget that Palace did win the FA Cup and Community Shield, but I mean, you're right. I'm with you. At least
mm,
I think to what you're saying is you expect a bit more. It's a very good point you raise about the Club World Cup. I'm not going to rush to judgment just yet, But even we spoke about it at the time, Ayub, that it just doesn't feel right. Now they've done really
Mm,
well. They look really good. You're absolutely right. Well worthy of their win in the summer. Pocketed the club a huge amount of money as well. And I believe one notable mention is I think they actually contribute quite a bit to the charity set up in the wake of Diogo Jota's death as well. Just a small point as well from their winnings from the Club World Cup. But having said that, you're absolutely right. It will be interesting to see because they obviously went the longest. Even City lost, I think it was to Al Hilal, I believe, in the
mm,
quarters of the last 16. So even they didn't kind of play the amount of games that, let's say, Chelsea did. You're absolutely right. It's a truncated kind of summer period for them, a very unusual one. It's not something I'd want my club to be participating in.
mm.
I want my players, rightly so, on a beach for as long as it takes
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because to not put a kind of more sophisticated phrase on it, but football's hard, physically,
Yeah, yeah.
mentally, emotionally. There's highs, there's lows. You can imagine what it's like for some of these Liverpool players right now, especially by losing a colleague as well. So there's a lot to it than just simply, hey, listen, we can just play it every week, twice a week, whatever it takes.
Mm,
So it'll be interesting to see what their start of season looks like. Early days, so plenty of time to recover. But you're right, home game again, similar to Leeds. When you got a home game, United, you could see the crowd were really into it. That crowd
mm,
at Old Trafford will have gone home thinking, yeah, but there's somewhat there for sure because they were the better team. And I've watched Manchester United against Arsenal a number of times in recent years, and I've always felt Arsenal were, whether the result was there or not, the superior team. You could just go off the eye test. I didn't think that on Sunday. They were not the superior team for sure. Lots to like about the United performance. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of go on from here. What's your general prediction, just very quickly, before we finish for the bottom three? If I can give you mine first, because I'd already done
mm.
this with my brothers actually early on a few weeks ago. I did have Leeds staying up, maybe out of my kind of loyalty to yourself more than anything else. But
Mm,
for whatever reason, I felt Sunderland, Burnley, and Brentford. I've always felt Brentford are going to struggle this year because mainly around Thomas Frank. I just think I rate him so highly as a manager. I never would think they'd get relegated under Thomas Frank. It just felt
mm,
that way. It feels like things are breaking down significantly at that football club. And you know this, Ayub. I mean, they're a mid-table team-ish with all their players firing. And it's always at those clubs where it's not like 1 to 11 or superstars. You've got a couple sprinkled in. You lose those couple,
mm.
the fall is quite precipitous at that level. Now,
Yeah.
Arsenal, for that, at the top end, you lose, yeah, even there, you lose some players, but they've got bigger squads, more balanced squad in terms of quality, in terms of depth. Arsenal, if they lose Timber, they've got White. If they lose Lewis Skelly, they've got Calafiori, just to give a few examples. But I've always felt Brentford, I'm going to stick with Burnley and Sunderland. Credit to Sunderland, huge win. I know you're a big fan of their manager as well. But what do you think? Are your bottom three for yourself, same as mine?
No, no, I think Burnley will go down. I think Sunderland will stay up. I think they've got enough quality, and I think they've got obviously the Stadium of Light is it's sort of nearly 50,000. So it's a wonderful atmosphere there, and I think they've got a great coach. They've got a nucleus of a really, really good sort of side in terms of a battle. In terms of they've got a sprinkling of golders, but I think Xhaka was key. I know it's just one player, but
Yep.
sometimes you need it's almost that engine that you need. He's a big character, and would I mean they made him captain straight away. That's what I like as about a club as well. Sometimes they've got this tendency, some football clubs, where it's a case of right, they'll give it to somebody who's been at the club. No, they gave it straight to Xhaka, and I think he'll. I mean, he's a big character, and I think that will sort of make his shoulders even broader. He's a proud guy, you know that. So I think they'll be all right. But I think Brentford, you're absolutely right. It's a club that is lost direction at this moment in time. West Ham as well. I think West Ham sort of always occasionally flirt with relegation. So I think those are the three. I'm hoping that that is the case, which then means that we'll have avoided relegation.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one quick thought on West Ham, just before I let you wrap up. Are you're right. I mean, West Ham fans haven't taken to the coach ever since he came in, Graham Potter. He's not had, he's not managed to string results together. I mean, they've got Bowen, who still you feel is quality, isn't
Mm,
he, in terms of goals, in terms of work ethic, and the rest of it. But they've lost some key players, Kudus being one of them, and the fans haven't taken to him. And you know what the West Ham faithful are like, and you just feel like he could be one to just keep an early eye on because. I think there's one thing losing your first game. There's one thing losing heavily to a newly promoted club. And we've all spoken about
Mm.
the gap that exists between the promoted clubs. We spoke about it in the summer, last 2 seasons back to back. You've had the promoted clubs go down. So to lose heavily to a promoted club that most people feel will finish 20th, let's be very honest, in Sunderland, that doesn't just bring pressure, that brings a huge amount of pressure all of
Mm.
a sudden. So it puts a lot of pressure on him early doors to pick up some wins. If they start off the season, let's say you 1 win in 8 or something along those lines, again, long way to go. You could imagine that the West Ham faithful may be calling for the head. But anyway, the night belongs to yourself. I'll let you wrap up. Leeds 1-0, clean sheet. You're even praising Daniel Farker. Lord have mercy. What's going on? But the night belongs to you, mate.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a wonderful start to the season, and that's what the Premier League is all about. So I'm hoping I've got many more nights, or at least sort of, I don't know, about sort of 8 or 9, which
which is
eight or
which is all it
nine.
might take. Which is all it might
Yeah.
take, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, if we did win 8 or 9 games, that's almost guaranteed that we're going to stay up.
yeah.
But I hope so. But it's great to be back in the Premier League,
It is.
and it's great to be doing the podcast again because it's been a long time.
Yeah,
So for those watching, great to have you. But we'll be sort of shooting obviously more regularly
for
now.
sure.
The season has started, so we'll do a preview. There's a big game this weekend. It's your man against Leeds United. So we'll do a little preview and we'll sort of see what our predictions or whether our predictions come true.
Yeah.
All right. So great to have you. Enjoy your evening. We'll speak to you soon. Ta-ra now.